What happened in August? What even happened in August? I didn't use this once. Big new moon, new me energy. Full Sylvie ramble in this video. Huge fail. This is the zine before it becomes a zine. Genius. I'm a genius. Hello everybody, it's Sylvie. Welcome or welcome back to Tarot Magpie. I hope you're doing all kinds of good. Today I'm talking through August. What I got up to, what I read, what decks I was using, the decks I didn't use. I posted a fairly ambitious August decks on my desk video, and I hardly reached for any of them. I'm going to be so honest with you. Tarot was very thin on the ground last month. Personally, August was great, but it was really busy. I was here, there, and everywhere. My partner was here, there, and everywhere. Generally, my routine was really disrupted, and my tarot practice kind of fell by the wayside, which is fine. It happens. I'm not mad about it. I was busy doing other things rather than a kind of deep, intensive daily tarot practice. It's all good. I'm going to get straight into it. So August, like I say, busy, busy month. What happened in August? What even happened in August? I saw friends. I bookended the month with seeing some real life tarot pals, which was lovely. I went to see Taylor Swift. I went to London. I saw Taylor Swift on her last night in Wembley, which was so much fun. Oh my goodness. The stadium was just, it was full. Everybody was having the time of their lives. The atmosphere was incredible. I what else did I do? I worked loads. When I say worked, I mean worked on Tarot Magpie stuff. So I was getting the Patreon ready. That is now live. Go check it out if you want to see more videos, exclusive tarot spreads, and book club, body doubling, art with me kind of sessions. Go check it out. I also made this. So this is the collage for my latest zine, which is called Call and Response, and it is full of 2-card spreads. And I don't know if I've ever actually shown the kind of the collage form, or if you've only ever seen the digital finished product if you've bought one of my zines. But this is my collaged zine, which I then scan in, and then obviously all of the text and all of the spreads I do digitally because my handwriting is atrocious and nobody needs to see that. And also I feel like it's because I do the text actually typed up, I think it makes it much more accessible because you can kind of copy and paste, and I imagine a screen reader would be able to read it if necessary. I have no idea if anyone has ever tried that, but it just feels more legible, generally a little bit more accessible than my chicken scratch handwriting, which is not cute. But this is the zine before it becomes a zine. Anywho, and I've also been doing loads of collage stuff. This is gonna be an oracle deck one day probably. But I've done a few new pieces, and I don't know what these are going to be called. So this obviously says Cosmic Conversation. I'm not sure what I'm going to call this. And Disrupting Memories. I love this. It's nice to like the work that you come out with, you know, when you're making art. Escape Heaven. This, oh my goodness, this went through so many iterations, and this started a whole rabbit hole in my brain of like Escape Heaven, and then I was thinking Paradise and Adam and Eve and like apples. So there's like a whole troublesome fruit note in my phone, which is like apples and Adam and Eve and like Snow White and Paris and Aphrodite and the Trojan War, and then pomegranates and Persephone, and oh, I know there's more fruit. But anyway, that's a whole, and then like the goblin mark. Anyway, the goblin market, before I interrupt myself. But this is Escape Heaven. I don't know what we're calling her. And then I think I've shown you this Roaring Beauty. Yeah, I did this in a video. There's a process video of this on the channel. So that's part of what I've been up to. Aside from being just like personally busy and having a social life, which is wild. I've been making lots of art. I've been prepping the Patreon, doing the Etsy zine, what else have I been up to? I'm sure there's like another project that I've got going on, but did I write notes for this video? No. But let's get into some decks, shall we? Because I think that's probably what you're all here for. So I have here on my phone the description of my August video, my August decks on my desk video with everything I was kind of thinking I might use. Feldman Sisters. I did use the Feldman Sisters. I don't think I did anything too deep with it. A lot of my tarot practice in August was just pulling cards out on my desk, looking at them, and then putting them away again. So I would look at them, I would have a think. I wasn't writing anything down. I wasn't even scribbling down like on a post-it note the cards that I pulled. So I didn't record a lot of my practice, is what I'm saying. So I know I used this, but who did I use this with? I know that I've paired it before with the Sustain Yourself, but I don't think I quite liked that. A mystery. I don't know. That's really helpful, isn't it? I don't know what I paired with this with, but I definitely did use this. I quite liked this actually for like spur of the moment tarot pulls, and I just kind of pull some cards and think about them and then put them away and I'm done, because I think the imagery is so weird and so wonderful. And I love this Six of Cups so very much. But the imagery is weird and wonderful, but I'm not sure it's not like hugely symbolic. It's not got loads of layers to it. It's not something I feel really called to like journal on necessarily. And I like it more for just being in the moment and like looking at the imagery and being like, okay, what does this bring up? Which for me personally just doesn't translate when I try and journal it. When I'm journaling, I want to journal more about the meanings of the cards and maybe the correspondences and maybe what the symbols mean, whereas this is just pure imagery. And this High Priestess. This is just pure imagery, and it's easier just to like do that in the moment and then put it away and be done. So that was the Feldman Sisters. I did pull this out. Right, Tarot of a Moon Garden was also on my list. I'm gonna talk about that. Fairies Tarot. I didn't touch this once. I completely forgot about it because I was having a bit of a reshuffle. I was probably tidying up my desk after filming my video where I put this in the list. I put something else on top of it, completely forgot about it. It sat on a shelf hidden for the entire month of August. I did not use this once. Eldritch Overload. I think I pulled this out, but I just wasn't really feeling it in the moment. Like I say, tarot practice was quite sporadic. I was a bit all over the place. My tarot practice was a bit all over the place. This just wasn't the vibe in the moment. Okay, Tarot of the Cat People. I did use this because this was my Leo season daily draw. I did use this. I completed Leo season. I did read not the guidebook cover to cover, like I didn't read all the card interpretations, but I did read all of the front matter with like the economy and the languages of the cat people and the religion and all the different regions, and that was just really fun to read. I had this by my bed. I was kind of reading a few pages every morning for a couple of weeks, and it was just really enjoyable. And then I'd come to my desk and I would pull my daily draw. So this is Leo season. It's definitely one of my favorite spreads that I've done in terms of the colors. They're a little bit more kind of dark and muted in the card artwork, but I like these like deep bluey greens, and like there's a lot of deep pinks as well, and obviously all this like sandy goldeny color. Like here, these colors, the blues and the greens, and then where's that gorgeous like pink? Like here, like this Six of Swords with these like pinks and oranges. I was just really pleased with myself. I thought I did a good job kind of capturing the color palette. And what did I think of this deck as a whole? I love the artwork. I think this is really cool. In my mind, or in my collection, it's kind of taking up a position. Oh, this devil though, like those eyes. It's taking up a position as a Rider-Waite-Smith clone. Not a strict clone, but definitely a Rider-Waite-Smith based deck. And I liked reading the guidebook for like the extra information about the world of the cat people. I wasn't overly impressed by the card interpretations. I liked some of them. I didn't dislike any. I just don't think that going forward I will really bother with the guidebook much. I think this is one I can read as a Rider-Waite-Smith deck. Nothing wrong with that. I don't say that to be disparaging. They were not bad card interpretations. I just think this is one that I can quite happily read on the fly as it is. But I really liked it. Okay, the Sistine Tarot was also on my list. I don't know where I've put it, which is upsetting. But I did use that quite a lot along with the Herbal Astrology Oracle, which is again in my September deck rotation. This is staying out. I want to use this in a slightly different way. I was using it as an Oracle deck alongside the Sistine Tarot. In September, I'm going to be using it in a little bit more of a practical, functional kind of way, maybe. Functional's not the word, but practical, a bit more as a learning tool. But I like this deck. I really enjoyed working with it. I didn't pull out a whole ton, but it's staying out. The Tarot El Dios de los Tres, I did pull this out very briefly, similarly to the Feldman sisters. I did like one or two on the fly, like pulling some cards. They weren't even really strictly readings. It was just I wanted to pull some cards, so I just kind of grabbed a couple decks and decided to see what they had to say. So I did touch it, not very much. And then the Tantric Dakini. I had such high hopes. This isn't the Tantric Dakini. Are you the Tantric Dakini? This is the problem with having these bags that all look the same. I need to get on and decorate some of them. Right, so this is the Tantric Dakini. I had grand hopes of reading the Tantric Dakini guidebook and doing a bit of a like in-depth exploration of this deck. And I simply did not do that. I did pull this deck out in a couple of like patchwork spreads. That's something I've got really into recently. And I read the associated guidebook entries, but I didn't read the guidebook. I didn't get into it. I didn't have the time or the capacity. I massively underestimated how busy I was going to be in August when I made my little deck list. And that's fine. It's not going anywhere. Its time will come around again. But yeah, a huge fail in working with the Tantric Dakini in any kind of meaningful way. All right, and then the Sustain Yourself Oracle, which I did do some more work with. So I read the guidebook and I did a bunch of the spreads that are in the guidebook. Or they're not called spreads, they're called like exercises. And I think possibly the intention is that you go through and you intentionally choose cards. I did not do that. I picked them at random because I'm a tarot reader, and so it feels natural to shuffle and choose that way. But yeah, I've always liked this deck. I've raved about this deck many times in the past year and however long I've had it. This is another video that I did, was setting up this deck study book for the Sustain Yourself. So if you want to see the like collage process and how I figured out what I was going to do with it, go check that out. I will link it. And yes, I did some of the spreads in here. I'll get to this as well, this like mind map thing. The Sustain Yourself, really enjoyed, actually really got into it. Possibly I used this with the Feldman sisters. Possibly I used this with this just for like ultimate chaos. Let me show you. Like the collage and the bright and colourful of this tarot is just, it's ultimate chaos, but it kind of really works because the colour palettes are quite different. Like there's a lot of warm colours in this tarot, like a lot of pinks, a lot of reds. And like even here we've got the pink and these hot yellow like titles as well. And then this is blue and green in the borders and the titles. And so they kind of pop in a really good way. Oh, Spring Birth with Death, with the Two of Swords. Senses and Awareness with the Knight of Swords and the Tower. Like, come on, these are really fun. I think I used this as a pairing, and now I want to use it as a pairing. These would definitely be fun together in a patchwork spread. the Tarot of a Moon Garden. I said I'd come back to, and here we are. I totally fell for this deck in August. Like, I've had it a few months, I've liked it, like it's been fine up until recently. I was like, this is a nice deck, I like it, I'm happy to have it. Oh, look at that urging. But it's been fine. And then something clicked in August. I ended up using this as my like on the go deck. So when I was traveling to London to stay with a friend, see Taylor Swift, this is like quite a compact deck. Obviously I didn't take the box, I just put it in a bag. And this was my like travel deck, and then it just stayed in my bag as being a travel deck for quite a while. And I really liked using it. I did some readings with my partner and like coffee shops and stuff with this deck, and then I also have been pairing it, and one of the decks that I paired it with, and this pairing is in my September deck stash as well, so that's how much I was getting on with it. And it is this, it's the Moonology Messages Oracle, which I bought recently. I acquired a lot of decks in August. I was considering doing like a recent decks acquisitions in this video as well, but then I thought that would be too long. But this pairing I've been really enjoying. So it's the Moonology Messages with the Tarot of a Moon Garden, and I just love them together. They are kind of gentle, they're kind of nice, they're kind of kind. And I know that one of the themes I was really feeling in August was this kind of inner child adjacent stuff. And this deck pairing isn't so much inner child, but it's kind of inner self-parenting, which sounds like it should be the same thing, but it feels different to me when I say it. I like the guidebook for this as well, and to be fair, how I've been using it isn't so much like this, like I do in my like videos, but I've been pulling a card, seeing what the card says, reflecting on that, and then pulling some of the Moon Garden. This has come up several times, and to the point where I'm starting to feel like a little bit called out when I see it, and I'm like, but I don't want to change what I'm doing. Anyway, Strength with the Three of Cups and Strength. Oh, that's fun. Okay, anyhow, this was a pairing that I really enjoyed, and I enjoyed this deck on its own, and then I enjoyed them together so much so that, like I say, it's staying out for September for me. Okay, is that all the decks? Not quite. So this was the other deck that I got myself in the Hay House sale. This is the Prairie Majesty Oracle. I've done a video on this as well. I swear this video doesn't exist just to promote my Patreon and my other videos, but I'm talking about what I've been up to recently, so my recent videos are going to come into it. I am thrilled to have this deck. I did a video kind of playing with it, flipping through the cards, pairing it with some things, doing one of those, Kellyanne Maddox calls them sacred patchwork readings, and I've kind of been playing with that a lot. And it's delightful. It's a really lovely deck. I also, somebody tagged me on Instagram, tagged me and the creator on Instagram, I think either while watching my video or playing with this deck following watching my video, and effectively put me in touch with the creator, Cara Simons, who is lovely. So that's also just really fun. And yes, I've been really liking this. This is not actually in my like September stash, but I think I will probably still be using it, and I've been really liking pairing this with other decks, specifically in the like patchwork spread kind of thing, which I will talk about. So that's something I've been really getting into. In terms of my actual practice, like I say, tarot practice was a bit thin on the ground in August in terms of traditional, like typical readings, like do a spread, write it all out, journal about it. I just didn't have the time or the capacity or the inclination. And so I've been doing more of these like patchwork style spreads, and this is a really good deck for that. I also have enjoyed doing that with honestly a lot of collage decks, but just pulling a whole bunch of decks and pulling a card or two from each of them, laying them all out, and just seeing where the connections are. And then that also comes back to this mind mapping my readings. This has been really fun, and I don't know why I have never thought of this before, because I love data visualization, and I feel like this is essentially doing that for like a tarot reading almost. I'm it's a way of visualizing and connecting the different things that jump out at me in cards and the different themes that kind of pop up, and this is much less, it feels much less intimidating than doing like a long form journal entry, which is not something I typically do loads of anyway, although it is something I want to kind of experiment with. Try something. But this has been like such a game changer. I feel like it's unlocked something in when I don't feel like I have the energy to do a tarot reading, but I want to do a tarot reading. Mind map on a post-it note. Genius. I'm a genius. Um, but yeah, so mind mapping spreads and also doing these like big patchwork spreads where I just pull a bunch of cards, no real question. Maybe I've done it where I've pulled an oracle card from whatever deck and I think, oh, that's interesting. Let's pull in a tarot card. And then like, oh, this deck also resonates with this particular oracle. So let's pull in a card from that. And I am kind of building it out in that way. And then coming in and doing just like a little mind map of what the connections feel like. It's also in the moment. I don't revisit my readings an awful lot. So it doesn't necessarily need to make sense for posterity. I just need to get down and know what I'm talking about. So patchwork spreads and mind mapping my readings has been a huge part of my practice recently. I have been really enjoying it, and like I say, it's made tarot feel a lot more accessible when I just don't have time or energy, or I want to do a reading but I'm like, oh god, I can't be bothered to like get all my books out and take notes and like get into it, which is a thing that I love doing. But you know, when you're low on energy, you're low on energy. So that is all the decks that I used and didn't use, my practice bits and bobs, and I'm going to talk about books briefly, and then I will let you go. So, been on a big astrology kick. I did mention astrology in the August video, the Astrology for Yourself workbook, which is too far away for me to reach right now, but I have been kind of continuing to work through that. And also, I've been loving these two books. So, this is Star Codes by Heather Rowan Robbins and You Were Born for This by Chani Nicholas. At the moment, they are both turned to different Virgo pages because it's Virgo season. I'm a Virgo rising. We've got that Virgo new moon, which, wow. It's also conjunct my ascendant by like, I think they're a degree apart. The new moon is happening a degree away from my ascendant. So big new moon, new me energy. But I've been really into astrology this past month. I talked about at least this in my September video, so it's not going anywhere. I finally feel like I understand enough about astrology that when I hear things, it kind of makes sense. There's so many different moving parts to astrology. You've got the signs, you've got the houses, you've got the planets. Everything is moving at a different rate and interacting in a different way. And then you've got transits and like, is it conjunct, is it square, is it trine? And it's all happening at the same time and it's all constantly changing. So I felt like it took me a little while to wrap my brain around astrology, but I feel like I have enough of the basics down and I've worked through enough real-time examples of what different transits mean and what different seasons mean and how different things affect other things that I feel like I'm starting to get a grip on it. I am so far from expert. I still need to look everything up. I don't think I will ever stop needing to look everything up, but it feels like it's getting really juicy. So I've been loving both of these, and that is what I have to say about that. Also, Chani Nicholas's the Chani app. I pay for the premium subscription. It's so worth it to me. I love the weekly readings. It's just so good, and the little transits, it tells you what's happening. In my opinion, the Chani app, very worth it. There is a free version, and the weekly podcast is free. So I would super recommend Chani's stuff. And then fiction, no, this is more non-fiction. This is Your Mind on Plants by Michael Pollan. I read this. I also have almost finished The Botany of Desire. This one in particular is essentially three like long form articles. He's a journalist, and so it's in that style about opium, caffeine, and mescaline, and so fascinating. There was so much I didn't know about the history of opium in the United States, because why would I? In a sense, I was born in 94 in the UK, so extremely outside of my personal lived context, but fascinating to read. All of them were fascinating to read. I have read This Is How to Change Your Mind by Michael Pollan, which is his experiences with psychedelics. I read that a few years ago. This I felt was more approachable, a little bit easier to read, a little bit easier to digest. That may just be because I was in a very different place a few years ago, or it might be that this is an easier to digest book. I also read like the tiniest amount of fiction. I read a couple of the Wayward Children books, and I also read The Parable of the Sower by Octavia E. Butler. This was a reread. I have not yet started Talents, but that will be a first time read for me. Incredible, obviously. It's Octavia E. Butler. Not easy to read, unsurprisingly. This was definitely worth the reread for me because there was a lot that I completely didn't remember, and so it's very good grounding to go into the sequel with. I think the sequel is like not an immediate sequel. I think it's a few years later on, but I'm glad that I kind of have the context of the first book. And so that's everything I've been reading. I've told you about my decks, I've told you about my practice, I've told you about all the stuff I've been up to. Again, Patreon, Etsy, go check it all out. I'll stop, I promise. But yes, that's everything. That was my August. It was chaotic, it was busy, it was good. August was good. I felt like I didn't know where I was half the time, but in a good way. Definitely glad that September is going to be quieter because I don't think I could do that for very long. But I'm glad that I had the August that I had, and I'm looking forward to September. We're right at the beginning now, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the month brings, especially with that big Virgo new moon energy. That's a lot, astrologically speaking. Astrologically speaking, it's been a lot. August was also kind of a lot. There was a lot. I know enough about astrology now to know that that's true. August was, messy. Anyhow, that's it from me. I'm gonna leave you there. Thank you so much for watching. Posty had excellent timing, turning up right at the end of this video. So that's it from me. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, I really hope you have enjoyed. I hope you've enjoyed listening to what I got up to in August. Let me know how your month was. Let me know how you're feeling about September. Let me know how you're feeling about this new moon, because I am daunted. Daunted is maybe the word. I hope that you have enjoyed this one. Give me a like if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.